Before we get started with today's episode, in case you're not on my mailing list, well, I have landed after 3 years in the liminal phase and a year's worth of conversations for the Courageous Pivot podcast. I have finally braved the calling of my heart and gone all in, full out in the creation of my art. I want to invite you to have a look. It's at meghantelpner.com/art. And there you will find a gallery of the tapestry weavings I've been working on for the last year. There are still a few available if you need a little warmth and color and vibrancy and joy on the walls of your home or office or school or wherever you have some wall space. Again, please go over to meghantelpner.com/art and check out the results of my courageous pivot. Now, let's get started with today's episode. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Courageous Pivot podcast. So happy to have you here. Another wonderful episode awaits for you. Before we begin, I want to remind you to please ensure that you are subscribed at courageouspivot.com, where you will receive the episodes mailed to your inbox. Oh, imagine if I could mail them to your door on a cassette. No, you'll get an email when a new episode drops. It will include links back to the show notes, a few special offers, all kinds of goodies in there. So please, again, courageouspivot.com is the place to subscribe. Today's guest is one of my bestest friends in the whole wide world. Her name is Michelle Waithe. She was, for a brief time, the operations director of my school, my company, Meghan Telpner Inc. And since she was set free from that role, our friendship has been able to bloom in super fun and sometimes wildly politically incorrect ways. We have good laughs together all the time, and this episode was no different. Her background is fascinating. The courageous pivots she has made are very interesting, and she's a delight. So here is her official bio. Michelle began her career in the field of holistic nutrition, consulting and teaching students at the same school she attended. Over time, her work expanded into leadership roles supporting businesses behind the scenes, running operations, and building systems that support growth and freedom. Today, she weaves in human design to help individuals and business owners make decisions in a way that truly works for them. Most recently, she stepped into off-grid living on her homestead while continuing her work in operations and human design, creating a life rooted in freedom and doing things her own way. And that she does. And for that very reason is why her and I resonate so beautifully together. So I will let this conversation speak for itself. I hope you enjoy this episode. Let this be the introduction to welcoming Michelle Waithe onto the Courageous Pivot podcast. Hey.
Hi.
Hi. I was really nervous for today and also like a little bit emotional. I was nervous because most people I have on, I know them, but I don't know them super well.
Yeah.
I know you a little bit well.
Yeah.
I kind of want to talk about the number of synchronicities that landed us working together and then discovering we were actually soul sisters.
Right. Love it. Yeah.
We both followed each other, for lack of a better word. I would say celebrated each other for many years before we actually met.
Yeah.
We met at an event in 2019 for the first time, very briefly.
Yes.
And then that was kind of it, because then everyone went into the cave.
Yeah. And the first time I had known of you in the online space was, I think, around 2011, 2012. You had been brought up in a mutual conversation as a little bit of a disruptor in the industry. And I was like, oh, I need to know who this is. So I went and found you. And instantly I was like, oh yeah, this is my vibe. This is my energy.
Yeah.
And you stuck through. You were one of the few people that I always looked for what you were doing online, what you were doing in the new social media spaces. I always followed along.
You know, it's interesting that you learned of me as a disruptor.
Yeah.
Because how was I disruptive?
Well, I mean, minimally disruptive. It was a mutual friend. I was working for a company that represented some whole food product lines. And I used to do shows and vendor shows and markets and all this stuff representing the company. And we were going to do the Raw Vegan Festival.
Oh, yeah, I was a disruptor. I
Right.
forgot. Do you want to
And
explain
so
what happened?
yeah, she brought you up in the conversation. She's like, "Oh, do you know of Meghan Telpner?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know that name." And she said that there was some kerfuffle
Yes.
because you had been planned to do a talk at the Raw Vegan Festival, but you were outspoken about the fact that you weren't actually raw vegan, but you were interested in sharing with people how you could incorporate more plants and more health foods into your life. And you didn't feel that you necessarily needed to be a raw vegan in order to have an impact. And so we went on to a discussion about that.
Right. So what happened, I remember this now. I'd applied and I'd presented at the Vegetarian Food Festival, and all my classes were quote unquote plant-based. I wasn't making meat here, primarily because at the time I really just didn't eat much of it. And I was also concerned about food safety with a bunch of people like handling raw meat in a group cooking setting. And I had applied and got in to present at the Raw Vegan Festival, and then had gotten the spot on the Marilyn Dennis show. And the first segment I did on the Marilyn Dennis show, I made turkey burgers, like veggie packed ground turkey burgers. And then the Raw Vegan Festival accused me of being quote unquote a fake vegan chef. And I remember they sent me an email saying that I would not be welcome there, and they couriered my check back to me, like my deposit.
Oh my God.
I was like, wow, this is something. And then I wrote a blog post about the Raw Vegan Festival that went a little bit viral as things could go in 2012. And I don't know if I was asking for people to boycott, because I don't feel like I would do that,
Really?
but I was just making a little bit of noise. And here you and I are. And where is the Raw Vegan Festival?
Yes. That's a good question. We should look that up.
And after that, I wasn't welcome back at the Vegetarian Food Fair either, because
Oh,
I was problematic.
wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Anyway.
So whatever that was that I was attracted to that energy, I was like, okay, sign me
Yeah,
up for whatever.
that was disruptive. I was like, how was I disruptive? Telling people to eat organic food and not eat
Yeah.
plastic. But that's funny. I remember that now. What I remember, and this isn't all going to be like remember when, but we've talked about this recently, because in 2020, you were fostering ducklings.
Yes.
And what did you name those ducklings?
I named the ducklings Eugene and Herschel.
And we were not close back then. Like
No,
I don't think we'd even had a conversation.
never. Like maybe a DM conversation about something that I thought you might like or whatever, but nothing extensive.
Yeah.
And we had found this program to foster ducklings because there wasn't a lot to do then back then. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll bring ducklings inside my house. Fine. Do that.
With all your dogs and your cat.
Right. It's like it was totally normal. And I was thinking of names, as you do, because they needed names to have temporarily in our foster home. And I wrote down a list of names, and I don't know where I came up with Eugene and Herschel, but those were like, I had a list of like groups of two names because there was two ducklings. And I kind of made these groupings and made a final decision that Eugene and Herschel, which were on the list, were like the ones it had to be. I don't even actually know if the ducklings were boys or girls, because you don't know until a certain age. But that's what their names were.
And those are the two names of my grandfathers.
Right. Which you've
Yeah.
never shared, to my knowledge, in
No,
any public forum.
no. So my dad's father was Eugene Telpner, and he went by Gene. And my mom's father was Herschel Cates, and which was a sort of a Yiddish name. And he most often went with Harry, but those were my grandfather's names. And I'm like, what are the chances? And then I messaged you and I was like, hold on, Sally.
Yeah.
This is something. And
Yeah.
since then, there's been so many.
So many.
So many. So we fast forward to 2021, I think, the end of 2021. And my operations director of 4 years had resigned. And I was like, I can't, like I was toast. My nervous system was toast. I was like, I can't do this. And I knew of you, and I knew you worked for a company, and I knew you were in a role working for the type of, not the type of business I had, but a similar offering in online course offerings and that sort of thing. And there's a rule about poaching people from other jobs. Like, you can't do it. And not only like do you not want to do it in, the Toronto nutrition field because it's a small world. But there's something about like you have to then guarantee if you poach someone, you have to like make guarantees about their length of employment or whatever it was. So my strategy, listen everyone, because it's brilliant, is I would find people that were the people I wanted to hire. And I would say, I'm looking for someone with your exact skill set. This is the role. Do you know anyone? That's how I do it. Doesn't always work, but it did work. And you were like, I'm interested. And I was like, oh, stop it.
Yeah, and actually it was the end of 2022 because, and I remember the dates. No, sorry, you're right. No, it was the end of 2021.
Yeah.
It was 2022 when I actually came on board. And it just happened. There was, at first I was like, well, I have those skill sets. And then there was a situation that led up to it being actual perfect timing in the beginning of 2022.
Yeah. So that's when you started.
Yeah. In March, at the end of February.
And there was something, so we worked together for a year and 5 months, maybe.
Yeah.
And there was something so special about, so you came in, so to clarify, you came in as director of operations on a 1-year contract. And I was like, I just need to get through this next year was my idea. And there was something so special when you came in, and it was special in a couple ways. It was special in that like you and I were basically in charge. We were like the mom and the dad, or the mom and the mom, as the case may be. And we got along so well, and we had so much fun. And it's like when your parents have a good time together, everything's just more fun. Like when your parents are laughing together, it creates a culture and a vibration in the home. And we created that together in the home. And it was so fun.
Yeah, it was just instantaneously easy.
Yeah.
And flowing.
Yeah.
Which is the mark of that, okay, this is where it's supposed to be kind of.
Yeah.
Energy.
And you understood what it took to both lead a team to, and Asha was in the same seat before you, and she did an absolutely incredible job in all ways. And we're still, in close connection, and she set up amazing processes, and you took what she set up and ran with it. Sometimes it's like when you have contractors come in to like fix something, you're like, oh, they did it all wrong. Like they always are like, that was done wrong. The pipe is not on the right angle. Redo it, pull down your ceiling. But you were like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then you could build on it and run with it. And you got to know everyone on the team because it was kind of set by then, all the seats they were in. And you made everything so easy for me and fun. And your attitude was summed up in one of our meetings, which was, do you remember what you said?
Was it the ice baby situation?
Yeah.
And I said, oh yeah, we were talking about something like kind of serious. I don't even remember what the context of the conversation was, but it was not like it was like a more serious topic, I feel.
Yes.
And I was trying to say, well, if there's a problem, then we'll solve it.
Yes.
And you, without missing a beat, stepped in and said, what did you say? What is the line? Oh my gosh, I forgot now.
If there's a problem, we'll solve it. Hook up the beat while the DJ revolves it. And we broke out an Ice Baby.
You didn't miss a beat. Like, yeah. And as the words were coming out of my mouth, I heard the lyric, right? So I'm trying to, and not that I needed to maintain composure, but I was just kind of like trying to maintain the context of what we were talking about, but you just took it right there.
Yeah.
Like you just went completely sideways. And then I was like, oh yeah, I'm here. This is good. Cause that was fairly early on.
Yeah.
In our working together.
Yes.
Yeah. That was.
And the other thing because then you created all kinds of problems for me because I was set on wrapping up. And I think I'd even maybe said it to you. Like I wasn't pretending like this was a lifelong career. And I'd attended this workshop by my friend, Michael Bungay-Stainer, who's a great coach. And he has a book called How to Work with Almost Anyone. And he had outlined the value in working with someone who gives you the bravery to do what you believe is impossible.
Wow.
And unfortunately, you did that. And then I'm like, oh my God, we could build this out. We could do anything together. Like we can make this happen. Like our strengths balanced each other.
Yeah.
And that's when I had the idea. I'm like, no, we're going to keep this going. I'm going to create a secondary revenue stream because I saw the decline in online courses and it didn't work.
Yeah, that was, and it was such a magical thing because I did walk into such a well-structured and well facilitated team. Like the team was amazing. The operations that your former director Asha had so beautifully set up. Like I walked into a dream.
Yeah.
And so, and I didn't know that I was going to walk into that. So then it was like, oh, I really have the capacity here to build on this, and like we could do something great. But it was really a wrapping up, which also felt really good. It feels
Yeah.
really good to wrap up on a note like that than a crumbling dumpster fire.
Yeah.
So like that actually felt equally as good, but I did see the possibility of going in that other trajectory
Yeah.
uh, of more.
I interviewed Abigail Hopkins. So by the time this comes out, her interview will be live as well. And one of the things she said, it was someone's quote, but like winning is knowing when to stop playing.
Mm.
And one of the blessings, there were many blessings that there was many challenges that came with me choosing to stop playing. But one of the blessings was that while we worked together, we couldn't go full on in our friendship. Like we had to like keep it professional. I was still super mindful. Like I wasn't sending you offensive text messages or things that would have me canceled. Like we was very respectful still. But
Yeah.
once the company, like once it was done, it was like, oh boy, like the strings had been cut and we were soaring.
Yeah, that is true. That is very true.
Yeah. So I think that us being able to work together was what unleashed the friendship that we have, which is the most beautiful friendship I've ever had in my whole life.
I agreed. It there's something different that happens when you have that concentrated time with each other. Like when you work together, you're
Yeah.
talking inevitably every day about something. If it's in, like this remote team atmosphere, you're always communicating about something. And so it's just like when you went to school, like the people you went to elementary school with, once you're done with that, there's no longer that forced bond, right? So if you know you think you'd get along with someone, but you don't have that
Yeah.
container to like concentrate that energy, it can take longer or may never develop. You may never realize that, oh, there's something blossoming here, but we were put into that room together. And then that just was like, oh, how are we so similar and so aligned and so complementary?
I did a lot of team bonding because it was all online and we had a cast of characters, like everyone super creative, super interesting, a little bit artsy. So we had like our craft afternoons, but we had the game Family Feud that Sweet Ashley coordinated. And you and I basically came dressed as the same character without knowing it. We were like Palm Springs 60s sisters.
Exactly. You're both the wild, eccentric auntie is how we came in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Except I was the wild, eccentric Meghan. Like I just came as myself. And then the other thing that I thought was so funny was when I grew my hair out, and one day it dawned on you, and you were like, Meghan, we have the same hair. It's like, yeah, I couldn't tell you that. There's too much all at once.
Our type of hair it's its own species, and there's not a lot of people. It looks normal on the forefront, but underneath there's lots of layers.
Well, it's interesting too, because we often joke about our respective ethnicities.
Yes.
Because I'm basically Ashkenazi Jewish through and through, but there must be something else in me.
Right.
And you're like everything.
Yes.
But you have that just enough Jewish in you that you get the layer of frizz on the hair.
It's there.
Yeah. So, all right. So we met. You came and worked here. Then I called you from my spiritual bath, or I texted you being like, I can't do this anymore. And you're like, oh, great. That's such a great revelation. Not even, you were going to be out of a job in 3 months. Didn't phase you. You were so supportive. You hustled up the team to help me close things down and transition everything. And then you had this own vision for your life that was wild.
Yes.
And you made it happen.
Yes.
Which was really, to me, you've had many courageous pivots. And I also want to talk about your childhood because we have to get back to that. But so tell me about what you do and why you now live somewhere with no running water.
So we live completely off grid. We have had this vision, I would say, so my partner and I, we've been together since 2010. And we've had, like, he's always been the kind of person you could throw him in the middle of the woods and that's where he would thrive, like log cabin, he's good there. It took me a bit of not convincing, but revelations to get to the point, because I always knew that's where I thrive, but I was worried about leaving the conveniences behind of the, I can just drive 2 seconds to go to the grocery store or visit my friends or whatever it may be. And then 2020 happened and I realized how much I could live without in terms of those conveniences, because they all stopped where we are in Canada. And so I had this epiphany of, oh, wait, those barriers that I thought existed before we could get to that phase of like really wanting to live somewhere more in nature, they completely vanished. My whole mindset changed. And so from that point on, we started looking for what was possible in a property. And as we started looking, the possibilities just started evolving into somewhere outside of the city to all the way off grid, even contemplating we could buy land and live in a trailer and build a house. Like that's how far into the possibilities we went. And as we looked at properties for 4 years approximately, those possibilities were clear to me. I'm like, I can totally do this. And it was actually funny experience with a few of the real estate agents. They had warned us because we're coming from the city and we're looking at properties way out in the country, off grid, no neighbors that close. And a few of them had warned us because they grew up in this atmosphere and they have had seen many people come from the city and immediately about face, I can't do this anymore. It's too quiet here. It's too dark here. And they warned us numerous times about that. And we're like, we're good. We have thought through this decision. This is exactly what we want. And we were accurate in that assumption, because as soon as we found our place, that was completely off grid. No connected services to the city, nothing, right? No running water inside the house, no electrical inside the house, where people would panic and be like, what have we done? We went into leaning in, oh my gosh, this is the best decision we've ever made. And everybody thinks we're nuts, but this feels so right and so aligned.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when you moved out there, it was in the spring 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You lived in the suburbs.
Yeah.
And we were so cute because I remember you and Pavel came over with the wood chips.
Yes.
We were like urban homesteading. Like you drove in with your truck full of wood chips, shoveled them out. I gave you some meat organs for your pets. And we're like, we're homesteading, we're trading. Like, this is so great. And then you went and actually did it. You left your home that you'd been in for years. You had a beautiful garden. Your cat went missing, like went into the duct like the day you were to move. Is that right?
Yes. We adopted 2 new pets 2 weeks before we were going to move. One, like 2 days before we were going to move. So that is something that is very irrational, but it showed up. These animals needed homes, and that was part of our vision, to make a sanctuary on this property eventually for some animals that need homes. And we're like, well, here it is. Let's just start now.
So you moved out there, and then suddenly you have no heat, like no electricity, no running water, you have an outhouse, not even really a kitchen.
Yeah.
And the first couple weeks were not paradise.
No. The first day, and it was never about like, what had we done? There was never that question, but it was just an overwhelming sense of like change of lifestyle. So immediate, right? And we knew what we were expecting, but the day we were supposed to move, our cat, the new one we adopted, found herself in the duct, the heating vents, and we couldn't get her out. We had to call the HVAC people, the fire department, like we could not get her out. So we had to postpone our moving. Finally got her out. The day we were leaving, we had to take our 2 vehicles because we're bringing all of our stuff with us. So we ended up being delayed because of the cat also being missing. And we didn't leave till the afternoon. And as Meghan had mentioned before, I have visual challenges. And so I don't drive well at night. So we ended up leaving.
Meghan mentioned you're blind in one eye.
Right. My blind in one eye status. And
pirate status is how we refer to it in our house.
Right, exactly. So we left late, and I was driving one vehicle, Pavel was driving the other. I don't drive well at night. I ended up having to drive 3 hours in pitch dark on rural roads and highways. And so that was, getting here with 3 cats and 2 dogs, mind you, also. So I had all the cats in my car. Pavel had all the 2 dogs in his car. So we got here. It was 11 o'clock at night. It rained. It poured all the next day. We hadn't had any of our electrical or anything just minorly connected. I just laid in bed the next day for the entire day and read our friend Susan's book, which was literally a lifesaver, because it just pulled me into this courageous reality of we're here and it's supposed to feel like this great, oh my gosh, we're here, we're living our life. But it doesn't always end up like that in the immediate moments. There's a transition time. And so that first little while was difficult. And then we had Pavel's sister come for the weekend to visit us just to see the property. And it normalized things for me. It put me at ease. It was like, okay, this is our home. This feels like some sense of normalcy, people that we know. And it started to ease. But it's, even though we had prepared for this very, strenuously, we were prepared for all the things that were to come. The reality is always different, right? So
it's been 2 years. Your partner, Pavel, is doing all of the work himself.
yes.
And he was formerly not a handyman.
Yes.
So he's learning it all from YouTube videos, from installing the wood burning stove to tiling it to the beautiful wood paneling behind you, all of it.
All of it.
While you're every day getting up and going to a quote unquote regular job to do work every day on your computer.
Yeah.
Every time I talk to you, there's something different behind you.
Yes. It is a work in progress.
And it's been 2 years and you still do not have a shower.
We still do not have running water inside the house. We have a hose connected to a well, which is like an upgrade. But, he's doing 99% of it himself, but things like installing our new windows and whatever, we've hired people, and electrical stuff. We're not playing with that on our own, but we found amazing community members, friends, and neighbors that have supported that. But yeah, it's been a work in progress. And I was like, let's get in here and get everything done as fast as possible. That was my vision. And Pavel is the opposite of that. He thinks things through. He's like, let's take a beat. Let's make sure this is what we want to do. And I'm like, no, I know the plan. It's going to be like this. And what has ended up happening is that time inevitably that comes into play, because it's a lot harder than you think it's going to be to do all these things and learn all these things. It changed our vision of how we wanted the interior to function. People say that, right? You should live in a space before you make major renovation decisions. Should live on the land before you decide exactly what you're going to do with it. That has really helped us. And so while it isn't ideal to have those conveniences delayed, it has made the vision so much more clear. And we've changed the position of the kitchen 3 times. And now we're like, oh, wow, if we had done this originally to plan, it would be fine, but it wouldn't be what we want.
Tell me about the deep freeze we just had, where you sent me a screenshot of you trying to figure out how to have a solar powered heated toilet seat in your outhouse.
Yes.
Was that you went to go pee at 6 a.m. and it's minus 40 outside and you're like, what is this?
That is exactly the situation. Yeah. We would regularly wake up in the morning. We have a great wood burning stove that was professionally installed, and it's designed to heat a much bigger space than we have. So it's great. But if you're not getting up in the middle of the night, it's not staying warm, and we're not fully insulated, and everything is not fully upgraded just yet. So we would
just for reference, you're in Ontario.
Yes, we are in Northeastern Ontario.
Yeah.
So the temperatures can get in the winter down to minus 30 or lower. And in the summer, it can get quite hot. So, but in the winter, we would regularly wake up where it's 3 degrees inside the house. You can see your own breath. There was a few meetings where I would be talking and you could see my breath.
Tell me about, I found this so fascinating, about how your body acclimatized to the temperatures and the difference between natural heat and the synthetic heat that we all have in our modern homes.
Yes, that was a real eye opener that I didn't expect and not even something I thought to look into. But my body acclimatized completely to a colder climate in the winter. Uh, Warmer climate, I think I'm pretty good at acclimatized to, even though some days in the summer can get really hot in here because we don't have air conditioning yet. Maybe we will one day. But both myself and Pavel were extremely shocked at how well I acclimatized to cold because I'm not one who typically tolerates cold. It does, I'm not that person. Pavel is that person. He doesn't really wear a jacket in the winter, even at minus 20-degree temperatures. But cold makes me irritable and cranky, and I don't do well with it. However, there's something that shifted because when you're immersed in it, and also there's a difference between the cold in the forest and the cold in the city. And I don't know if I could articulate exactly what that difference is. There just is a difference. And there's a definite difference between wood heat and forced furnace air heat. And how I noticed this was I could regularly be very comfortable at 16 degrees Celsius inside our house in the winter. And then I went to visit friends, you included, and I would be cold in their house at 20 degrees Celsius or higher. And I was like, what is this? And then I started to pay attention and I could just feel the difference between that forced air heat from the furnace and the wood heat, which seems to heat you from the inside out.
So interesting.
So fascinating.
I have no interest in trialing this.
I'll report. I'll let you know. I'll give you
let me
the
know.
details.
I want to go back to your childhood and your background because it's so fascinating. And I remember the first time you shared photos of your parents or your siblings. And I was like, do you all have the same parents? Because you sort of look nothing like your siblings. Your parents are both from Trinidad.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Tell me about your very special parents who I apparently channel from time to time.
Yes. They are. They have both passed, but their spirit energy is still here. Like just the amazing people that showed us how to be joyful and loving and embracing all in life. They both were born in Trinidad. My mom is Portuguese by descent, which is where my ethnic look probably comes more from that side. And my dad is a mixture of African, Scottish, South American, indigenous. There's just a whole mix. Our DNA is beautiful and mixed all over the place. So, but they were for a few generations born in Trinidad, like a few generations back, they were from there. So, and all my siblings were also born in Trinidad, which there are 4 of before me. So there's 5 of us total. And there's quite an age gap. So they were all born in Trinidad. In 1969, they moved to Canada, to Calgary, if you can imagine moving from Trinidad to the coldest place you can think of. They moved there. And then 8 years later, in 1977, I was born in Toronto. So I came as a little bit of an afterthought. So there is an 19-year age gap between my eldest brother and myself. So that's like
wild.
Yeah.
And because I have no filter, I'm like, that's why I was like, do you have the same parents?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're much fairer skin too than your siblings.
Yes. So my siblings, it's kind of like varying skin tones down the line. Yeah. And if you look at us, we have very similar features and different skin tones. Yeah. So, which is, it's always interesting. Like there was this one funny story where my sister and I were traveling actually to Trinidad together. And when you go through the customs, if you're family, they ask you, where you're going, where you're staying, whatever, what's your relationship to one another. And so we said, we're sisters. And the customs officer, because she had a very dark tan at the time and I was quite fair. And the customs officer was really skeptical about what we were saying and confused by which I don't think is that odd, but apparently, it's not the first thing that people would assume if you saw us standing beside each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, everyone is so beautiful in your family. And, you share little tidbits from your brothers and your sisters. And I'm like, I want in there. I want in on it. And, you've shared so much about your parents that, I am sorry I never got to meet them. Growing up, Was your family joyful?
Yes. Yes. There was so much joy and love in our house. And that is when I reflect back on my parents. That's what they brought to us. They brought a sense of surrounding love and joy. There was always people in our house. There was always someone living in our house who needed a place to live. And we didn't have a big house, but there was always room there. And that is part of the Caribbean culture in general. I think that is part of it, and other cultures as well. But that was definitely, you embrace someone. If someone needs something, you embrace. And my parents were the epitome of that. So there was always this sense of joy, laughter, love. And that's not to say there weren't some difficult situations, because there were some very difficult situations, but the undertone was always that.
And then, we've talked about your pirate status. So when you have type 1 diabetes,
Yes.
when did that start?
When I was 12. So I was diagnosed at the age of 12 with type 1 diabetes. And I think looking back, it was probably surfacing for maybe a year before that. Like there were some signs and symptoms, but they were hard to notice in me because they were like, you eat a lot, you drink a lot, you are very thin. But that was my metabolism as a child. But when we look back at it, it's kind of, the signs were a bit there. They were just hard to see. So at diagnosis, I was in a really pretty bad state at that time. And yeah, so that was a challenging part of my entire teen years, my years of my 20s. I did not take care of myself well. I was in denial for a lot of it, although I was very interested in nutrition, which is a weird dichotomy. But it was very difficult for me. I felt a lot of victimhood. Like, why me? Why does this have to happen to me? No one else has to worry about what they're eating all the time or have to take needles and all these kind of things. It was really challenging. And those years of really being in denial had their consequences, many of which I reversed with a holistic lifestyle, but the retinal damage in my eye was not reversible. And so that's where in sort of, I think it was beginning in 2015-ish, that's where things started to take a major decline with my eye.
Oh, I didn't realize it was so late. Well, I did because we talked about it with our friend Susan, but I actually originally I thought it was like in your 20s when you were compromising your health. When you were one of the original holistic nutritionists, you were way early. When did you went to the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition, the other school? When did you graduate?
I graduated in 2006 or 7, I want to say. But before that, I had done nutrition in university. Like since high school, since I would say I was diagnosed with diabetes, I was trying to think of like, what was the spark of my interest in nutrition? And that was part of it, even though I was very interested in it. And I was also denying it entirely. But my whole education path was along that trajectory. I wanted to study nutrition in university. I wanted to originally be a dietitian, quickly realized the medical model system was not where I wanted to be, finished that, then found holistic nutrition. And that was like, wow, this is what I want, the more holistic approach.
And then you taught at the school, you were in practice. How did you get to be doing operations for online course businesses?
Yeah, it's such a wild transition. So I had graduated school and I was really enjoying all the things you could do as a nutritionist at that time, workshops and seminars and one-on-one clients and teaching. And it was just totally up my alley.
Did you ever do kitchen cupboard cleanouts?
100% I did.
Why did we all do that? Like, it was the weirdest service.
There was a group of services that we all did, which was like a grocery store tour, a kitchen clean out, one-on-one consults, meal plans, like we all did the same thing. So I was doing that and I was doing really well at it. And I had niched down into working with people with diabetes, not only because I knew the science and logistics and like the right type of nutrition that could really make a difference for type 1 and type 2, but also because I knew the emotional piece. And that was the piece I really enjoyed working with, the mindset shift of how to operate in the world joyfully with such a heavy diagnosis for a lot of people. And that was something that I felt was missing when you would go to someone and they would give you, like, here's your restrictive type 1 diabetes meal plan, and they don't acknowledge how difficult that is. That was where I really was feeling I could make a huge impact. So I was doing that. And then I got brought in to coach other people who were building their businesses on how we're doing it. Like, how do you build a successful practice like this? And mine was really small. I would even call it a practice more than a business, I would say, but it was both. And I came into that realm, and I was working for a company that was teaching nutritionists primarily how to build their business. And so I started coaching that. And then the company needed systems and customer service support and operations support. And that is what I came to realize, a real zone of genius for me, to just step in and like make things more efficient and make systems work. I didn't know the online tech that much at that point. I didn't know all these things, but I just knew I could learn it all. So that's what I did. And that was, I was like, how did I get here? But it was so fun. And I really enjoyed being that resourceful team member that could make things easier for the operations of the company.
Every company needs a Michelle. And those that don't know they need a Michelle are in deep doo-doo. I mean, they have no systems in place.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so with your family, did they think you were like Banana Town to leave your perfectly comfortable home and go live in the country? Or were they like, oh, Michelle, look what she's doing now?
The second. However, this was when we really started making the moves, was after both my parents passed. I would say if they were here, my mom and dad would worry a lot.
Well, do you ever worry? I worry about you all the time. Like sometimes when I text you and I don't hear back within like 3 minutes, I'm like, are you dead? Like, have you fallen? Is there a hatchet through your face? Like, where are you? But also with diabetes, like living down a long, winding country road
Mhm.
in the middle of nowhere, has that ever been a concern?
No, and what's interesting about where we live, it feels like it's the middle of nowhere, which it kind of is, but we're also 25 minutes from a town. It's not a huge town, but it's a town that has a hospital and all the things that you need
Right.
and more. So it never really occurred to me, only because I'm at the place in my life where I feel very in control of managing my health and my requirements. So, and very self-sufficient in that, diabetes aside, but just in general with our animals and stuff like that. Like, going to an emergency vet here is not that easy. But up until moving here, we started working with a holistic vet and learning how to do things at home for basic first aid care. And so all of those things combined doesn't have me really worried about those situations. But you are correct that our friends and family sometimes do worry for us.
Yeah. When you were a kid and a teenager, were you still this joyful? Like, did you know who you were always?
Yes, I did. I feel like I always had lots of friends. I always was in all the activities and sports and all the things. But however, there was a layer of a cloud or a veil or something. There was years of my life where it felt hard to fully express that joy because I was lost
Yeah.
in my health issues, in not knowing what I was going to do with my life there, and coming to realize after that's exactly the life I was supposed to lead, like trying things and going down different paths is exactly who I am. It was difficult when all my friends were like getting married and having stable careers, and I'm still working in a restaurant or something like that. But
Yeah.
looking back, it was exactly right. But there was a little bit of a veil or a cloud over that joy at some points, but it was always there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a very, 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 very dense cloud
Mhm.
over my joy as a teenager. Recently, I read the book and I actually taught a workshop on like the Dr. Lisa Miller called The Awakened Brain. And in that book, she talks about around the age of 19, how there's like a natural wave of depression
Mm.
that comes in as an invitation to open your mind, basically. And those that at that point start to ask questions like, is this what I want? Is this who I am? Or who am I? Opens the gateway to spiritual awareness. And it's almost this, it's the same wiring in the brain. The pendulum can swing either way. So the same wiring that creates or causes or makes you predisposed to depression can also bring you down the path of spirituality. And I also had challenges with my health in my teens, not to the extreme that you were, but I had, like, now looking back, like the first symptoms of autoimmune diseases. And I was on like a really restricted diet because everything made me feel sick or whatever it was. And I've often, in the last couple years, wondered what difference it could have made
Mm.
had you been my best friend when I was 15.
Oh,
Like, all I ever wanted to do was stay home and do art and craft and make things and listen to cheesy music and make up dance routines. And like, that's what we do.
yeah.
I mean, that's still what I want to do most of all.
Yeah. It's interesting because at that time in my life too, I was always out. I was never home. I always wanted to work. I always wanted to be. And I wonder if that imbalance was from that cloud of depression, because there was one. There definitely was one. I could still be joyful, but there was like you said, dense is a very good term. There was a dense cloud, and I was not content to just be still. I always was, and I had fun. I had a lot of like immense fun during those years, but there was an imbalance in it. And I think that was because of that. I'm not really sure what to do when I'm not doing.
Yeah. You're such, like, your joy and silliness is just so beautiful. I sometimes think like Josh, my husband Josh, his grandfather Zadie Morey passed away at like 99.
Mm.
And Zadie Morey had this quality that he made. I thought I was his favorite.
Mm.
Like, we had like our secret jokes and, we'd have our side conversations. At Zadie Morey's funeral, I realized he made everyone feel like the most special person. Like, everyone thought they were his favorite. And I sometimes think that about you,
Mm.
like that you have the quality. I mean, I know I'm your most favorite, but you have you have that quality, and you have friends you've had forever that even when you've nothing in common, you're able to see the spark in them and appreciate them for who they are. And it's a really special way about your nature.
Yeah.
Are there, like, do you have people that you've had to let go or release from your life, or who have not understood you and been like, what, I'm out?
Yeah. And I think that has happened, but it's just happened naturally. Like there was never any thought around releasing that, but it just released, and sometimes not in the nicest ways it wasn't enjoyable, but it wasn't me sort of thinking, okay, what needs to be released from my life? It was just following that path of exactly what you described, like being in the presence of people that also make me feel that way. Right. And then that natural reciprocation of that energy sort of filtered out anyone that wasn't like that. And I think I reflect on that now, and like my life is so full with people that I love for all different reasons. And it's so beautiful. And again, I attribute that direction from my parents because they exemplified that. They showed us that without directly stating anything. They just lived like that. But it was, it's interesting you brought up how, and I don't think we ever talked about this before, how you feel that feeling like I make people feel like they're the most special or whatever. And I thought that was one of the things when I reflect on how I want to live my life. That's how I want people to feel in my presence, effortlessly, not with effort, not with like, praising people or anything like that. Just a sense of your energy is so important in my space.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel it. You better not be making anyone else feel this way.
Megan, you know.
Well, I know. And I just actually saw myself, and I'm wearing a jacket, and like the overlaps we have in the very random things that get us excited.
Yes.
Like the perfect find in a thrift store, which is what I'm wearing right now. Because you sent me a photo of this jacket and I was like, that jacket's perfect. I need it for a photo shoot. And then it was at my door in the mail.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I took pictures of it all the other places I wore it because I didn't wear it for the photo shoot. I was like, well, I'm just wearing it everywhere else now.
Yeah, it's your jacket.
Yeah, until I'm like, no, now it's your jacket again. And then the letters, like this is really cute. And I'm going to tell everyone because I think everyone needs to do this with a friend, but we write each other, although I think you owe me, but we write each other. You started it, like these old timey cursive letters using old timey language about what's happening around us.
Yeah. It was sparked by an Instagram post of all things where someone was talking about, if you were to use old timey language to say something like cheeky or something abrasive, like it comes across as much more flowing and eloquent than if you were to say it in the harsh way that we speak today. And I was like, oh, that's so, and I feel like I sent it to you and I sent it to a few other people, whatever, but
whatever.
Yeah.
Like it.
Well, you know what I mean? Like I didn't think anything of it at the time. I sent it as what I meant was I sent it as like a funny joke. But then I thought, oh, wouldn't that be fun I don't even know what the thought was, to speak like that or to tell a story in that way. And I was like, oh, a letter. How about a letter? And there was an occasion that I wanted to tell you something. And I'm like, oh, instead of sending a text message, what if I put this update in a letter? And write it in cursive and write it in old timey language. Like I think I refer to your podcast as your radio broadcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And we both expressed how curious it was the state you go into in the process of like long form, like writing on like foolscap. I use lined like Hilroy paper, having to remember how to make capitals in cursive. Like all of it was just such a fun thing that just really recalibrated the brain to think something through in the way we're meant to, I believe.
Yeah, that was really eye-opening. I didn't expect that, but it just happened as I was trying to write it. Because even when we write today, the things we're writing are like lists, notes. They're not, maybe a card, but the card is still maybe a few sentences. And maybe that's the most intentional we get with writing by hand these days. And that really was also retraining your brain to write in cursive. If you don't normally write in cursive, that is a new thing to bring in. But it felt like I felt more creative. Like it was such a wild experience to feel that. And it reminded me, my grandmother who lived with us my whole life, my mom's mom, she had a writing desk, a little writing desk in her room always, and her little mail station. She wrote to all her grandchildren to give the updates. She had little airmail stickers, and she spent a portion of every week writing.
Yeah. It's not the same, but what it inspired me to do was to think about email and DMs and all of it as like managing my correspondence. So rather than always being on the fly with things, but taking the time to be like, this is the hour that I'm going to catch up on my correspondence in the ways that we do.
That's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah. And then we also Josh started like Thank You Thursday. So on Thursdays, we write thank you notes to things and people we appreciate.
That's so beautiful. I love that. That's a great idea.
I was like, what day of the week do we send our complaints?
Yes. Thank you Thursdays and complaint Tuesdays.
Mean Mondays. You know, better.
That's awesome.
So what's next in your home? Like we're coming on summer. You tapped some maple trees and a birch tree.
Yes.
Made some syrup. What are the big, we're recording this early May. What are the big projects you have planned for the short summer that we have?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a lot of the work inside the house because it's hard to do that in the winter as well. Like it's more difficult. So I think that will be more hopefully plumbing. Again, we actually had it earlier planned, but then we changed the whole kitchen design, which added to the budget, which added to some things. So now we're just content with going with the flow, but that is the plan. That is part of the plan. So we'll see where that goes. And then hopefully more outdoor planning in terms of where we're going to put things, chicken coops and stuff like that. I think now that we've been on the land for a little bit of time, which I understand now is very important before you do those things to know where to put them. That might be coming up. So maybe small gardens, we'll see. But it's really, which is very opposite to my personality, it's really going with the flow and planning, but not over planning. So I'm
Right.
cautiously planning because it feels restrictive and it starts to take, I noticed at one point it was starting to take the joy out of things because I was annoyed that things weren't done. And it's like, no, we're living our dream. We have our whole lives to do this. It's not comfortable for most people. I will state that very clearly. But for us, I'm like, we have a lake outside our doorstep. Like you look out the window and the lake's there. How could I be, you know, upset if the plan of renovation and whatnot is not going exactly how I envisioned it? So the
Yeah.
plans are always loose.
You sent me last night a sensational photo of the sunset. And Josh and I sometimes joke about people who send other people photos of a
Yeah.
sunset because you're like, you can't, like, okay, I'm not there.
Yeah.
Great. Like, beautiful. I'm glad you're enjoying it. But it was so beautiful. Like, it really captured it. And I also laughed because I noticed out the window last night how beautiful the sky was here where I am. And we're like 4 hours away from each other. And I thought of taking a photo, but my view was like rooftops and wires. But now I kind of wish I had because I've been like, oh, yeah, look what I got.
It's the same sky. We're under the same sky, which is, it's magical.
Speaking of magical, the last thing I want to talk to you about, you lost your parents very close together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I've had any friends, like, yes, I've had friends lose parents, not so close together and not in the same way. They were younger and had serious cancers and those sorts of things, but I've never witnessed someone, I don't want to say embrace the loss, but accept the loss as, the evolutionary process of the soul in such a beautiful way. I mean, they both passed quite suddenly still, even, they were older, but like, what was that like for you? And you recently shared, it had been 4 years since you lost your dad, and you were sharing all these beautiful messages people shared about him. I imagine you still miss them, but you also catch glimpses of their spirit in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, it took me by surprise, I will say. I did not expect the way that I handled it. I also think that there is a distinct difference when you have a lot of extended and immediate close family to support you through those things. Like I recognize there's a difference if you're an only child and you don't, no one else is experiencing, no one else can understand that. And even if you have
Right.
siblings, there's still differences there. But because
Yes.
I have that support and we're so close, that was a net for me and for all of us. I believe we became even closer since my parents have passed. But I can't explain how I understood this, but I understand very clearly what it means when people say their spirit is still around you. And I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how to express that in words, but it was a definite feeling. And what was challenging with my mom passing is like my parents had been together for 62 years. Since when my mom passed. And my dad, they were very close. My dad was just like he doted on my mom. Like he was just like he would always take care of her. So her passing, she passed first, was very difficult for him. And that was the hardest part of losing her because her quality of life had declined. She was 83. She had just turned 83 when she passed, and it felt freeing for her. And so that felt okay. It's like, when someone has come to the juncture and it feels okay. And
Yeah.
of course, I missed her terribly, but seeing my dad go through that heartbreak was difficult, and seeing my siblings go through it, it's very difficult. But it also is an opportunity to open your heart. And up until that point, I had never, ever thought about a life without them. I don't know why, because you think everyone's just going to live forever. And I was just living my life. And I also had never thought about the fact that my siblings are quite a bit older than me, and that there would come a time where it's not guaranteed, but there is a higher possibility that I would be the only one left. And that
Right.
was the hardest thing that I've ever had to face. I never thought about it in my life before. And so all of that was heavy and painful, but I chose to embrace it. And it's like, okay, well, how can I live more fully within this family unit right now? So that's how it felt. And then when my dad passed a couple of years after my mom, that felt, again, I had that experience of he's still here, and he had declined rapidly. And he was so heartbroken after my mom passed that it also felt like a relief for him.
Mhm.
So while they were sudden-ish in nature, it felt like a release for them. So that felt comforting to me. And I glad I got to the point in my wisdom in life that I could see that clearly. And so having my siblings, who perform numerous functions for me, we are siblings. They are also like my parents, like my aunts and uncles. And so it feels like I have this layered relationship with them. The thought of that changing in the future is a much harder reality for
Mm.
me, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing everything. Everything. Thank you for existing, for being the spark in my life and in my family. Like, you have a presence in my home. We live far away. We don't see each other that often, but you've had tremendous influence in my house and in my son's life for sure. And I also appreciate that he pointed out once, he's like, you have a certain laugh. You have a Michelle laugh. Like,
Oh,
when you make me laugh, it's like a certain kind of laugh that he's observed. And I think it's really special for him to get to witness our connection and our friendship
yeah, that's
too.
beautiful. And I will express my feeling of that is what I've come to realize over the last, I would say 5, 6 years, is a certain way I feel completely at ease in people's presence. And that is my barometer. And that's the way I feel in your presence, in your home. And it is the only option for me to feel that complete sense of comfort. I can be exactly who I am. And it's a space where I can express my fullest love and joy. So like that is just, I think it's beautiful and rare and amazing.
Originally today, I had booked in our friend Susan, our mutual friend,
Yes.
and we have a
Love.
three-way chat with Susan. I can't wait to get the notes. Susan sends us podcasts after my podcasts on notes on the interviews. She was originally going to interview me, and then her timing didn't align. So you kindly stepped in, and we joked that you thought like my assistant Jen, thought you were interviewing me, and you're like, no way. We had this whole thing, but I will ask you before we go, do you have any questions for me before we finish this up?
Oh,
You're like,
okay.
no, no, none. Okay, goodbye.
Well, I do want to ask you about your recent pivot to the art space, which you've spoken about. But
Mm-hmm.
what was the like, and I feel like I wanted this to come up naturally in one of our private conversations, but I'm going to ask it here. What was the okay, now is the time where I really want to share this?
Did I really want to share it? Like,
Yes,
share it
share it
out
publicly,
publicly?
share it with, I know you've been doing it behind the scenes, but what was the like moment for you where I'm like, this needs to be in the world for others to enjoy?
That's a good question. I don't know that there was the moment. There were like little inklings. The first thing that was really, really powerful for me was when I actually hung my artwork on the wall and saw it up there. Like, I'd sort of been like schlepping them around, and like, I had one hung in my house, and I would occasionally rotate it. Then I had them all here in a pile. So when I got my dowels and sanded them all and hung them up, and Jen Aaron, who was a guest on the show, I sent her a photo. She goes, there's nothing more powerful than seeing your art on a wall. And it really, so there was that happened. There was my decision to, in hanging it on the wall, I went to clear that wall. So I was clearing out these mobiles that I'd had for my kitchen, this like art installation. So I took that out. I was able to sell remaining furniture. Turning my studio here into an art studio was the second component. And then I had beautiful photos done by Nikki McKean, and the art was sort of the afterthought. She's like, bring some yarn. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I just need a new cover photo for my podcast. Like, I just wanted updated photos. And doing that photo shoot with her, which there's definitely a vanity aspect to a photo shoot of yourself. And I recommend everyone get a professional photo shoot. Not so you have like pretty images for your profile photo on Instagram, but there's something about being seen through the eye of someone whose job is to see the details, like to see through. If you have a good photographer, they're looking for your soul in those photos. And we took the photos, and again, it was for my podcast, it was for my website, but the photos we did for the art, when I had like my balls of yarn, my loom, they were so easy to do. They were so fun. I had no requirements of what they needed to look like. And when I was looking back at them like a few days later, I was like, oh, okay. Like there she is. And the funny thing is, I still haven't updated the cover photo for the podcast because I'm like, I don't know how much longer I'm going to do this because I just want to do art. And that was ultimately, and then the next thing was I wanted to get my art on the website. Like I wanted to share it. It's what I love doing most of all right now in my waking hours is weaving. It's like everything is where do I find the windows of time to do this or create, not find, create the boundaries to have the windows of time. And I was going to the Sedona Yoga Festival and my goal was to have my website ready by then. So when I met anyone new and they said, what do you do? Because that's what happens when you meet someone new. My line was going to be, well, start with, well, I had founded an online cooking school that I ran for 17 years. And now I'm a fiber artist. And what ended up coming out of my mouth was like, so what do you do? I'm like, oh, I weave. And then it would be like, well, I ran this business and it, 3 years ago, I made the decision that it wasn't a fit anymore. And I'm just moving into this realm. And there was also one other thing that happened was at the One of a Kind show, I ran into a mutual friend of our friend Joy. And Joy's friend is an interior designer. And Joy's like, Meghan, Joy's like very enthusiastic and wonderful. She's like, Meghan, you have to show her your work. And so I showed this, I've met her. I've known her a long time, but like we're not super close. And I showed her my work and she gave me one of those faces like, are you kidding me? Like, you're new to this? This is unbelievable. Will you take commissions? And I was like, oh, okay. I thought everyone was just blowing smoke at my tushy. No. So it was just this slow building of confidence. And then after I saw the photos, it just like rang loud. And that was it. And then when I put the website together, I did it in like a day. It was so quick. The writing for it was so quick. And then when I sent the email out and the response was shocked me, floored me that I sold half the work that I'd been making since September. I'm like, okay, now what? Now what? I buy a 7-foot loom. That was the natural next step for me is buy $1,000 more worth of yarn and a 7-foot loom and see what happens.
Yeah. That's not the natural progression for you for sure.
Yeah. Like baby steps. What are those?
No, jump right in, 2 feet all in. But I love that. And I love that we had this conversation a while ago before as well, when you were like, well, am I an artist? And I'm like, well, what's the definition of an artist? Like an artist is, and I think I sent you something that Pavel had sent me about what is an artist or what is art. And it's I feel like it's a state of being. And like, you just jumped right into that state of being without, maybe sometimes the words don't come flowing out of your mouth, but that's what it is. That's what you've done. You've embraced that phase of artistry and being that artist in the thing that is just bringing you the most joy, which is like, it's so inspiring. And I know it's inspiring for many other people to see all of these pivots.
Yeah. It's not easy.
No.
Doing the thing you love is easy.
Yes.
But accepting that it could make absolutely no sense. Like sometimes making art, I'm like, how is that useful? But ultimately, I know it's useful because being in a frequency of joy is the most useful thing we can do right now.
Yeah, 100%. If we could break down like the meaning of life and what is the most basic purpose, if we could all just do that, if we could all just bring more joy, authenticity, integrity to like our interactions, that changes someone else's life. We have no idea how that impacts other people.
And that you said like this was the pivot to art. I actually think I had a major pivot away from art for the last 25 years. And now this isn't a pivot at all. It's just like, oh, right. You're back where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. And in some ways, when I look at what you did in that interim period with the Academy of Culinary Nutrition stuff, that also felt like artistry. Again, if we think of art in a wider definition, that felt like that as well because of the intention you put into it. It wasn't just doing it to do it. There was an art that you put into it, which is why I believe it was so successful, because of that energy that was put into it. It was made into mastery and artistry, not just a thing online. And that's why you've had these people follow you, not follow, but follow along with you in all of these transitions, because
it was, I did a detour. It was performance art,
right?
Was how I was teaching nutrition. I put on a costume, and I can't say I was playing a role. It was obviously me. I'm not that different. I don't cook like that when I'm home alone necessarily, but yeah, I mean, I've loved fashion. You love fashion. And I don't think of it as like a flaky thing to love fashion. It's also a form of self-expression and art. And, we love finding great secondhand things or repairing or repurposing. Like that's art too. Making something look beautiful on a plate is art. Styling a photo shoot for a cookbook is art. Mm-hmm. You make gemstone bracelets. I have a bookmark that broke yesterday. I fixed it. I was gonna call you and be like, I'm looking for customer support. Can I speak to the customer support department?
I'll have to fix it. Or
I fixed it. I use the beading tool called my teeth to like bite the wire back together.
Fair.
Still have them all. But yeah, I think, it's so important. And, we've talked about this. We both are technically minded. I love technology. I love working online. I genuinely love all of that. And also, we need the things like writing long form cursive letters and making jewelry and doing things with our hands and gardening and doing all the things that recalibrate you to what time actually is.
Yes, I feel that to the depths of my soul. Like that is what brings us back to connection 100%.
Yeah. And we had the best time when you came over and did. It was so funny when you came and did a crafternoon with me and you made a weaving. Yeah. And you were great. And then at the end, I'm like, I don't think I want to teach this.
Because it's one thing to do it yourself. It's another thing to teach the thing, right? And yeah. Although I think I was a great student.
You were a fantastic student and you made something beautiful and we had so much fun. But it was more just the reminder of I can keep it for myself too.
You don't have to expand it to that level to have it be impactful.
No, like I already started, I was looking for a 12-foot table. I'm like, how do I sit 12 people around the table and start hosting workshops? Of course, and like the old habits continue.
Although that could be fun in a different concept where it's just more about bringing that joy of slow creation to people and not having it to be like, I have to teach you how to do this thing perfectly. More just like, here, take some yarn and do something. Although I think you might be challenged with that. with not being stepping in and be like, maybe you shouldn't put that color beside.
You don't know me. Well, I think the challenge isn't that. I mean, I could be sat down at a table with any art material and say, go have fun and I will make something. But I don't think most people are comfortable doing that because they're out of practice.
Yes.
You could do it to any 5-year-old is good to go.
Yeah.
But take a 45-year-old who hasn't done that in 30 years, it's a process of like unraveling the conditioning we have.
Yeah. And it's interesting what shows up in those processes, right? Perfectionism or worried about how good is this? Or what is everyone to think about the way I'm doing it? Or this person's doing it faster. They're learning faster than me. Like it's all those layers I've observed in situations like that in myself and in others that come up, which I think could be a really great facilitation of like, okay, can we just be creative without all these layers?
Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to just do it alone for a little while.
Yeah, I think that you should do that.
You're welcome back anytime. All right, Michelle. Thank you. Everyone follow you on Instagram because what you share is amazing, especially if you like dog things. Now I get served all the dog things.
Yes.
And your homestead, you have an account for your homestead too.
Yes, I have that one. I have been a little bit lacking on posting, but I've documented so many things, but things have been a bit overwhelming. But I want to get back to that joy of sharing because I'm a self-proclaimed documentographer. I have so much stuff just for myself, but I do want to share that out with the world. So that
What's that account called?
it's Holistic Homesteader. And
Yes.
my account is just my name, Michelle_Waithe. But I do plan to, I have so much good stuff to share. I just have to get into a routine of it because I really enjoy it, even for myself, just as like a digital scrapbook. So if you want to follow along, you're welcome.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here and for listening through to the end. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with my friend Michelle as much as I did. Again, you can go to courageouspivot.com, click on this episode for all of the links, show notes, details about how you can find Michelle, and also a few special offers. And if this episode resonated with you, leave a comment, leave a review, share it with 5 friends, write it in a cursive letter and send it in the mail. I don't know how that would work with a podcast. Maybe include a cassette recording. Can we do that? Just kidding. Anyway, I want to thank you for being here, as always, for your continued support. I appreciate you so much. I want to wish you a wonderful rest of your day. Take care, everybody.